Welcome back to the new section of this course. So this section is all about Express.js. So without wasting our time, let's see first of all what is Express and why we use it in our course. First of all, what is Express.js? So Express.js is a minimal and flexible Node.js web application framework that provides a robust set of features to develop web and mobile applications. Okay. So basically Express is the web application framework for Node.js, okay, and also one of the most popular framework in web development, okay. So it is also used in mobile applications, but we are only going to focus on the web applications. This is very minimal and flexible, means this framework is really easy to learn, and also it is lightweight framework for web development, and definitely that's why we are going to use it in our course. So now let's see what are the features of Node.js. Some of the features of Express.js are, first of all, most popular framework for Node.js. Whenever we talk about the framework for Node.js, then Express is one of the most popular. And the reason behind its popularity is that it is lightweight and very much easy to use, especially for the beginners, okay. And second, rapid development of Node-based web applications. Whenever we want to create Node-based applications, web applications, we are going to use the Express.js because it helps us to make applications really fast. So rapid development is one of the main feature of Express.js. Okay. After that, it allows us to set middlewares to respond to HTTP requests. Now don't get confused with this middleware right now. We are going to discuss it in our next videos. Okay. So this is the feature that saves a lot of time of developers. That's why we use Express. Next, defines a routing table which is used to perform different actions based on HTTP method and URL. Now in our next videos, we are going to discuss about the routing in detail. So in that videos, you will have a better idea that why this is the main feature of Express.js. Okay, so don't get confused with it right now. After that, it also allows us to render HTML pages based on passing arguments to templates. Definitely, we are going to build a project that has HTML pages. So Express.js help us to render HTML pages dynamically, okay. So we can also pass our data from our backend to the front end using Express.js, okay. And after that, large and growing community. The community of Express.js is huge and it is growing day by day because Express.js is most easy and the best framework for beginners to learn, okay. So these are some of the features of Express.js. Next, there are two major web stacks that many companies uses, and Express is present in both of these stacks. The first stack is Mean. So Mean stands for M MongoDB, E Express, and A Angular, and N for Node. So this is one of the most popular web development stack that you use in many companies, okay. So Express is present in this stack. Also we have a second stack that is MERN. So MERN, MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. Express is also present in this stack, and this is also one of the most popular web stack that is used by many companies, okay. So you can take idea from this that how popular is Express.js, okay. So this is the main reason why we are going to use the Express. Express is really simple to use, it is lightweight, and also it is very helpful for beginners to get into web development by using the Express.js. So I hope that you understand what is Express.js. It is just a framework that is used for Node.js, and it helps us to make our web development applications really quickly, okay. So in our next video, we are going to write our first Express.js application. So I hope that you understand what we have done in this video. So that's it for this video. If you feel any problem in understanding about Express.js, you can definitely ask me a question. I am always here to help you. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. So this is our second video of this section in which we are going to build our first Express.js application, okay. So we have to install Express framework with this npm node package manager, okay. So you can see on the official website of npm this Express package. You can see its weekly download. There are over 10 million plus downloads weekly for this framework. So this is very popular framework, okay. So let's start using this framework on our Visual Studio Code. So first of all, here in Visual Studio, I have a new folder with the name Express.js for this section, okay. So in this folder, I'm going to create a new folder with the name first Express app, okay. And now in this folder, first of all, I am going to go into the folder. I type here cd and type here Express, and then I go to the cd and then the first Express app, okay. So in here, first of all, I'm going to create a new file, and simply I type here app.js, okay. So now here, first of all, I have to require the Express package here or Express framework. So I simply type here const express equals to require express. Okay, so this is not the built-in module of this Node.js. We have to install it by using the Node package manager. Okay, and before doing that, I forgot to create the package.json file, so I simply type here npm init to initialize our application. Okay, so I press enter here, and now first of all I typed the package name, first express app, that's it, version, description, first express app, and just type enter, and that's it. Okay, so we have a package.json file right here, this one. Okay, so first of all I simply type here npm I express and dash save to save the name of this express in our package.json dependencies. Okay, so I simply press enter from here, and our installing has been started. Okay, so express is installed in our application. So now we have to type here const app equals to express. Okay, so what does this mean? Okay, so in this line we have just required the express package, and now we have to use the methods of this express. Okay, so for that I simply create a const variable with the name app. You can type anything here like app or route or any name, but app is used by the most of developers and is a naming convention, so that's why I'm going to write here app, and then simply going to call the express function. Simple as that. And after that I have to now build my express application. Now before starting here, we know that whenever we go to the google.com, we are requesting the page from Google, which is the home page. So we are sending the request to Google, so that is called the get request, because we want to get that web page. So in the same way, whenever we want to access a web page, we send the get request. Okay, so for this application I am also going to send the get request for the home page. So I simply type here app.get to send the get request. Okay, and the first argument is the URL, which URL I want to access. Okay, so this time it is the home page. Okay, so I simply type here slash that denotes that this is the home page, and after that we have to type a callback here. So I simply type here request and response and arrow function res dot send, and I simply type here first express app. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now first of all we have sent the get request for this home page of this web app, and now we have set up this callback here, request and response. We know that what is callback, we have discussed that in our previous section. Okay, so whenever we send a request to a web page, for example google.com, then the server respond us with a web page or some data. Okay, so this time we are a developer, we are developing our own application, so we have to decide that which data we have to send. So for this simple app I am going to send this simple text first express app. So this res is the respond. We are sending the response back to the client from the server, this text that is first express app. Okay, now if we run this application, it is not going to run in our browser because we have to listen on some port. So I simply type here app.listen, and I type here port number 3000. You can type anything here, and also I just write a callback here and simply type here console.log, and I simply type here server started on port 3000. That's it. Okay, so let's save it and run this application first of all. So I simply type here node app.js. You can see the message server started on port 3000. Now if I go to my Google Chrome, I simply type here localhost 3000. Okay, and I press enter. You can see the message first express app. So this is our first application we have built with the Express framework and Node.js. Okay, so now I just repeat this program once again. First of all, we have required this Express package or framework, then we have just call this Express method and store it in this app variable. And after that we have sent the get request to this home page. Okay, so app.get to this home page, and after that we have a callback function that is going to run whenever this slash or this home page is going to be called. Now we are developer, we have to decide that which data we have to send to the client. So this time we are sending the response. res is the response here, so response.send, we are sending this simple text here. Okay, after that we have listened to this port and display that server started on port 3000. Okay, so now make this application a little bit more complex. Now I'm going to write HTML here, so I simply remove this from here. I'm going to add two links here, a tag and href. I simply type here /contact. Whenever someone click on this hyperlink, then we have to move to the /contact page, okay, which is not yet present, but we are going to create in a little time. So I simply close this tag from here /a and I type here contact us. Okay, and after that we're going to create another route here. I simply type here app dot get and I simply type here /contact, pass a callback here, request response, and I simply type here res dot send and I simply type here h1 and I type here contact us page. That's it. Okay, so first of all we will call this home page that has a link contact us. When we click on this contact us link, we go to /contact route. Okay, so this route is called from here, and we will see that contact us page will be displayed on that page. Okay, so simply save it and Control-C to exit from this node app.js. Server is started successfully, and now if I just reload this page, you can see a hyperlink here that is contact us. When I click on it and we are on our /contact page, you can see here contact us page. Okay, go back. Now if I just manually type here /contact, we can also access this page in this way. Okay, now add one more link here. So I simply copy this from here, Control-C, and I just break the line from here, br tag, and then again this link, and I type here about us, and URL will be about. Okay, so I simply type here app.get for this URL, that is about, callback here request response, and I simply type here res.send, this time the h1, that is about us page. That's it. Save it and run this program once again. So node app.js, reload it. You can see two links here, contact us and about us. When I click on the about us, you can see that I go to the about us page. Okay, so this is our first application that we have built in the Express framework. Okay, so one thing you have noticed here, we are writing our HTML in this line. Okay, so this is a simple app, that's why we are not feeling much complex. But what happens if we have a whole web page written with the HTML, CSS and a lot of stuff? Then we cannot write HTML in here. Okay, we have to create a separate file for that, and we have to render that HTML file in this app.js file, and we are going to do that when we will learn about the template engine. Okay, right now this is okay. So I hope that you understand what we have done in this video. Simply we have learned about this Express application, we have learned about this get request. So whenever we type this, we are creating a route here. This is a route for this /homepage. This is the route for this /contact page, and this is the route for this /about page. We have also requests like get, which we have used here. We have also post request and delete request. We are going to learn in our next videos. Okay, so I hope that you learned what we have done in this video. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. So today in this video we are going to discuss about template engines that we are going to use in the Node.js. Okay, so in our first video of this section, in which we have built our first Express app, then we have written this piece of code here. You can see that in these quotations we are writing our HTML, and I told you that before that this is not a good idea to write HTML here. This is a single line, that's why we write here. But if we have a HTML5 that has about 500 or 600 lines of code, then this is not possible to write here. Okay, so for that we are going to use a template engine, the template engine that will render our HTML file. Okay, so we are going to create our separate HTML files, CSS files and JavaScript files, and we are going to use our template engine for that. Okay, there are a couple of options that we can use for template engines, but we are going to discuss about top 3 most popular template engines that we can use. Okay, so the first one is this EJS template engine that we are going to use in this course. Okay, so EJS stands for embedded JavaScript. So basically this template engine helps us to embed our JavaScript in the HTML file, and this is the template engine that I'm going to use because this is really simple and easy to use. Okay, you can see its definition. EJS is simple templating language that let you generate HTML markup with plain JavaScript. So this is the main definition of this template engine, that we can use this to generate HTML markup with plain JavaScript. We can embed our JavaScript code in the HTML. It is really easy to use, especially for beginners. Okay, so this is the template engine that we're going to use in our course. And the second option is Pug. This is also one of the most popular template engine right now, but I should not recommend this template engine because its syntax is very ugly. If you go to one of its example, like we go to here, like conditionals, and you can see that here, this is the syntax of using the Pug. This is really hard for the beginners to understand. That's why I don't recommend you to use this template engine at the start of this course or at the starting of your career. Okay, but this is one of the most popular template engine right now. And also we have another option that is called Handlebars. So Handlebars is also a simple templating language that will help us to generate HTML. Okay, so you can see its syntax here. We just put 2 curly brackets and then put our variable in there to display that value. And there are many other couple of template engines that we can use, but we are going to stick with this EJS template engine because it is quite simple and easy to use, especially for beginners. Okay, so throughout this course we are going to use this template engine. And to use this EJS in our projects, we have to install it using this npm node package manager. Okay, so you can see from its weekly downloads, there are over 4.6 million downloads weekly of this package. So you can see that how popular is this. Okay, so this is just introduction lecture of the template engines. So I hope that you understand. So in our next video, we are going to write our first application that will use the HTML files or EJS template engine. I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. So in our previous video, we have discussed about the template engines. So in this video, we are going to write our first application using the template engine, that is EJS. Okay, so to do that, first of all, I'm going to make a new folder in my Express.js folder. I type here make dir with the name first EJS app. Okay, and in this folder, first of all, I'm going to create a new file with the name app.js. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to write here const express equals to require express, and then const app equals to express. After that, app.listen to this port 3000, then a callback console.log server started at port 3000. Okay, so now we have to write a route here. For example, I type here app.get and I simply type here slash demo and pass a callback here, request response, and now here I have to render my HTML template. So for that, I simply type here response dot render, and in this method, first of all, I have to type the name of the file that I want to render. Okay, so name should be like index.ejs. okay, that's it. Okay, so to render any EJS template, we have to use here res.render, then the name of the file, it is index.ejs. okay, so make it confused with that, why I don't have type here index.html, because this time we are not going to use only HTML, we are using the EJS, embedded JavaScript template engine. Okay, so we have to embed our JavaScript in the HTML, so that's why I have typed here index.ejs. okay, so now we know that there is no index.ejs file right now, so we are going to create that in this folder. So I type here new file and just type here index.ejs, and here first of all I'm going to type a single h1 statement, that is welcome to EJS template engine. Okay, save that, and okay, so before running this application, first of all I go to cd and then I go to the express.js, and here I don't have my folder. Okay, so we have created the folder outside this folder, express.js. Okay, so don't worry about that. So we're going to move back cd dot and cd first express EJS app. Okay, so now in this, first of all I'm going to run here npm init, then I type here npm I express, and also we have to install EJS template engine, so I type here EJS and dash save. Okay, okay, so now simply type here node app.js. Now I go to my Chrome browser and simply type here localhost 3000/demo. Okay, so you can see that failed to look up views index.js in views directory. Okay, so what happened here, whenever we create the index.js file or EJS file, we always have to put that file inside the views directory. Okay, so this is the error we got here, so I simply control C from here and create a new directory in this folder. Simply type here views. Okay, and I simply cut it from here and paste it inside the views directory right here. Okay, save it, and now if I type here node app.js and go back and reload my page, this time you can see that welcome to EJS template engine. So this is our first application that we have run in the EJS template engine. Now we can also pass some values to this template engine. For example, if I want to pass some value from here to this template engine, then we can also do that. Okay, so I'm going to take the example of previous video, that is the Stack Overflow. So I simply type here /user/id and /username. Okay, and I simply type here let user id equals to request.params.id, and also let user equals to request.params.username. Okay, now to pass the values, I simply put a comma here and pass the values in form of object. So I simply type here id equals to user id, comma username equals to colon user. Okay, so I have simply get the values from the parameters, and now to pass those values to this template engine or to this EJS file, I simply put a comma here and pass an object as a second argument. Okay, so first of all I have to pass the user ID. So I pass user ID. So to access the user ID, we have to type here simple ID. We don't have to type user ID. This user ID is this one, and this ID is the name that we're going to use in this template engine. Okay, in the same way, this user is this one, and username is the variable that we're going to use in this EJS template engine. Okay, so I simply save it and go here, and I type here Stack Overflow. Okay, and I simply type here a p tag, and in here I simply want to print the value of this user ID and user. Okay, so what I do to display the value, we have to use the tags of EJS. Okay, so for that I simply type here this bracket, then the percentage sign, then equals to, and then again percentage sign, then the closing bracket. Okay, so in here I have to pass the value, that is ID. Okay, this ID. In the same way, it's just control C and control V here and type here username, or yes, username. Okay, so I simply save it and just run this program once again. So node app.js, I go back and type here user slash some ID slash the username. I type here John, press enter. You can see that the ID and the username appears right here. In this way, we can also pass the values to our EJS file. Okay, so I just repeat this program once again. First of all, I have created this route, get route to this URL. Now I have rendered this index.js template. Okay, I mean, now I want to pass some values to this HTML or EJS file. Now I want to pass some value to this EJS file, so I simply pass it as a second argument, which is object. Okay, so in here, first of all, I pass the ID, then I pass the username. So this user ID is this one, and this ID which we're going to use in this EJS file. Okay, in the same way, this user is this one right here, and this username is the variable that we're going to use in this EJS file. Okay, so to display the values in this EJS file, we have to follow this tags basically. Okay, so to display our values, we simply type this bracket, percentage sign equals to, and then we write the name of the variable or the value we want to display. Then we close these as percentage and this bracket. Okay, so in this way we can also display the values in our EJS file. I hope that you understand. So this is the very simple application that we have created in this video. So I hope that you understand. That's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. So in our previous video, we have created our first Express application, and now in this video we are going to learn about the order of these routes that we have created here, these order of these routes, and also we are going to set up our 404 page, or the page that will run when no route will be matched from here. For example, if I run this application node app.js, I go to the Google Chrome browser and I simply type here localhost 3000. I get to this page that has two links, contact us and about us. But what happens if I go to the slash blog? We are going to get a message here that cannot get slash blog. So we have to display a proper message here that this page does not exist, or 404 error. Okay, so for that we have to set up our default route that will called when no URL matches from here. Okay, so I simply go back and simply I type here app.get, and this time I simply type here this static. So what happened is, first of all, the Express or node check for this URL slash blog exists here, no slash blog does not present here. It check for this, then check this. If nothing match here, then it call this route if nothing matches here. Okay, so I simply type here request response, and simply I type here res.send 404 this page does not exist, and I simply take a URL from here, anchor tag, paste it here and type here go to home page to make it a little bit better application, and I simply type here slash. Okay, So now I simply save this and run this program once again. Go to Google Chrome and refresh this page. And now you can see a message here, 404, this page does not exist. Go to the home page. That's it. Now if you go to the About Us, you can see here. If you go to the Contact Us, you can see the page for Contact Us. If I go to the some other page like social media, you are going to get a proper message that 404, this page does not exist. Go to the home page. That's it. So this is the purpose of this route. Okay, and now if I change the order of this route, if I just cut it from here and I just paste it here, just after the home page, save it. And now if I just restart my application, go to the Google Chrome browser, if I reload, I am going to get this same result. But when I click on the About Us, I am going to get 404, this page does not exist. Go to the home page. If I click on this About Us, same message will appear. Okay, so when I cut it from here again and move it here, restart my app, reload it. Now on the home page, you can also see that we get this message, 404, this page does not exist. Go to the home page, and again we got this error. So this means that the order of the routes matter a lot. Okay, so for this route especially, we have to type this route at the end of all routes. Okay, as I explained before, that first of all, the application will check for this route. So this static will match with all routes. Okay, so that's why this page runs and nothing else is going to run from here. Okay, so if we type this route at the end of our all routes, first of all it check for this route, then for this, then for this. If nothing matches, then this route is going to run by default. Okay, so make sure that your order of the route should be proper. I cut it from here and just paste it after that at the end. Okay, save it. Okay, so now I hope that you understand what we have done in this video. First of all, we have learned that the order of the routes matter. We have to type the routes properly. Okay, especially for this static route, this one. Okay, so make sure that you place this route at the end of this application, and this is a route that is present almost in every application, because we know that user may type the invalid URL. So in that case we have to send a message that 404, this page does not exist. Okay, so I hope that you understand what we have done in this video. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. So today in this video we are going to discuss about route parameters. Okay, so before getting into the coding part, first of all let's see what are route parameters with the help of our example. So now this is the website that is called Stack Overflow, which is basically a forum. So on this web page you just need to focus on this URL. Okay, you can see the URL Stack Overflow, which is the domain name, then /questions /ID of that question, and / the title or the URL of that question. Okay, so this is the structure of this question. Okay, so in our previous video we have discussed about the basic routes like / contact / about. So every page has a unique URL that will help us to access that web page. In this case, this is the unique URL that will take us to this question. Okay, so just think about that. There are over 18 million questions on this forum, that is Stack Overflow. 18 million plus questions on this website. Every question has a different URL. So this means that they have defined 18 million plus routes for their questions. Okay, right? But that's not the case. They have not defined 18 million plus routes like app.get for this URL, then app.get for this question, then app.get for this question. This is not the case. This is definitely not possible in programming. Okay, what they have done is they have just defined a pattern for this question. Okay, so you have just defined that whenever someone go to stackoverflow.com /question / there is some ID and / there is some URL, then simply you have to search for that question in the database for this ID or for this URL and show that web page to the client or the user. Okay, so they have just defined the pattern of a question, and every question, 18 million plus question, follow this single pattern that will be defined in a single route. Okay, and also if you look at this URL stackoverflow.com/users slash the ID of the user slash the name of the user, that is JohnFO. So there may be 10 million plus users on this website. Okay, so this is not possible that they define 10 million plus routes for each user. They have just defined a pattern for that users, and every time whenever a user profile is called, this route is get called. Okay, so in this video we are going to define these two routes for this question and for these users that will follow this pattern. Okay, so let's see how we can do that in our Visual Studio Code. So first of all, here I'm going to create a new folder with the name route parameters. So this time I'm going to create folder with command line. So I simply type here make dir, and I type here routes parameters. Okay, clear the screen and cd to this routes parameters. Okay, now I am this folder. I'm going to create a new file. Simply I type here routes parameters, create a new file, and I simply type here app.js. Okay, first of all I'm going to type here const express equals to require express, and then const app equals to express, and I'm going to listen on port 3000. Simply type here console.log server started on port 3000. Okay, and now I have to follow the pattern for the questions first. Okay, so I simply type here app.get, and I simply have to type the pattern here. And before that, I simply call a callback here, res request response, and then I simply type here res dot send. This route handles all the questions. Okay, now I have to define a pattern here. So what I do, I simply go to this page and just copy this URL from here, which is the /question/ this. So Control C from here and paste it here. Okay, so when you that questions will be always here. Now here I have ID, which is always going to change for every question. So I simply type here ID, and for this I have title of that question. So I simply type here title. Okay, so this is the pattern for this question URL. But if I just call this get method like this, then it is always going to match /questions/ ID and /title as it is. Okay, now I don't want to do that. I want to change this ID and title every time dynamically. Okay, so for that I simply type here a colon, and also I type here a colon. This means that their value is going to change. This is not hard-coded URL. Okay, so this is the pattern that will followed by the question of Stack Overflow. And now that let's define the route for the users. So I simply first of all type here a callback request response, simply type here res dot send, and I just type here this route will handle all the users of Stack Overflow, like that. Okay, and here I have to follow the pattern for the users. So I simply copy this from here, Control C, and then I will simply go back and paste it here. Type here users ID and /username, like that. So this is the pattern for this route. Okay, so I simply save it, and now let's our program. So let's type here node app.js. Okay, so I have an error here. Okay, so we forgot to install the Express package. Before that, I simply type here npm init, initialize our application. Just press enter a couple of times, and then I simply type here npm I express -save. our package is now installing. So now I type here node app.js, and that's it. Now if I go to the localhost 3000, I have not defined the route for this slash, but I have defined the pattern for these questions. So I simply type here questions slash some ID slash some URL, that what is node.js. So this route handles all the questions. Okay, so if I change something here, like I don't define the ID here like this, now I'm going to get that this route is not defined. So that will always going to match that pattern and display for that question. Okay, so you can see the URL questions slash this ID and slash this URL. If I change something here like to this and type here node.js and express.js and press enter, you are going to get the same result. This route handles all the questions. And now if I go to users slash ID slash name, for example John, so this route will handle all the users of Stack Overflow. So this time it follows that route pattern and show us this page. Okay, so I hope that you understand. Now if I want to display something on this page, for example for this route I want to display this username on the page. So what I do, I will simply request that username. Okay, there are two parameters here, request and response. This time we are going to request that username. So for that we have to use this request a variable here, or request instance here. So for that I simply type here like let user equals to request dot params. Okay, so we are going to use this params, and then we are going to use this user name. Okay, and after that I simply type here this route will handle I simply type here will handle, you can concatenate here user, I type here profile like this. Okay, so I simply save it and run this program once again. Server started on port 3000. I go back to here, I press enter again. You can see that this route will handle John profile. If I type here like Chris, you can see that this route will handle Chris profile. If I just type here Mike, so this route will handle Mike profile. In the same way we can use this ID here. Okay, so I simply type here let user ID equals to request dot params dot this ID. Okay, so I save it and I simply type here that has ID. I simply concatenate here user ID, save it and run this program once again, and I'm just going to reload it. This time you can see that this route will handle Mike profile that has ID this one. If I change the ID from here like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, you can see that this ID also changed here. So I hope that you understand what we have done in this video. I just conclude this video. First of all, we have just used this our Express framework, then we have created our route for this question page. Okay, so this time we don't define routes for all 18 million questions. We have just defined a single route, we have just defined a single pattern that will follow all that 18 million questions. Okay, so that is questions slash ID, some ID and slash some title. Okay, so whenever someone call this type of URL, then what we'll write here is going to run. Okay, so this time we just type a single statement here, that's why we just get it here. But when we build our own project or forum, we are going to display all the content of that question right in this route. Okay, and after that we have defined the route for this user that will follow the user pattern, because we cannot write 10 million plus routes for each user. Okay, so we have just defined the pattern for this user and just send this text. And we have also used this request parameter because this time we are going to request the parameters. We know that these are the route parameters. This ID is the route parameter, this username is the route parameter. So we have just request the parameters that is ID, and in here we have just request the parameters that is username, okay, and to display that here. I hope that you understand. Anyhow, if you feel any problem in understanding anything about Express.js, you can definitely ask me a question. I am Roger here to help you. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. So in our previous video, we have created our first application that used the EJS template engine. Okay. So in this video, this is a quick video in which I want to show you some folder structure or directory structure for our EJS applications. Okay. So the first thing we need to do here is that whenever we create our EJS files, we always put them in this views directory. Okay, that we have created in our previous video. So we always put our EJS file in the views directory. And also we know that this is simple HTML. If I want to add CSS here, then I have to include this CSS file in this EJS file also. Okay. So whenever we want to put some style sheets, images, or something called JavaScript files, front-end JavaScript files, then we create a new directory with the name public. Okay. So for that, I'm going to create a new directory here in this first EJS folder with the name public. Okay. And then in this public file, we can further create some folders like if I go to here, cd first EJS app, and I go to cd public, and in this public folder we can further make some subdirectories like make directory. You can name like style sheets or styles or designs for the CSS file. So I'm simply going to type here style sheets to put our CSS files in this style sheets folder, and to put our JavaScript files, I'm going to create a new directory with the name make.dir.js to put our JS files in this directory, and put our images, I'm going to make other folder make.dir.images. Okay, so put all our images in this directory. So this is the folder, public folder, that contains further 3 folders like images, JavaScript, and style sheets, and all this folder contains its own files. Okay, so now to use these, we cannot directly put some files in that and use it in our EJS. We have to write some piece of code to make it happen. Okay, so for example, I want to add style sheet in my application. So I'm going to create a new file here like design.css. Okay, so in here, first of all, I simply type here h1, and I type here like background color to red like this. Okay, so I save it. If I just run this, it is not going to work. I have to include this CSS file in this folder, in this file. Okay, so what I do, I simply type here something like HTML and head tag, and after that I have to put the body tag like this, and I put all this content right in here. Control X and paste it here. And to include our CSS file, I'm simply going to type here link, and I simply in href I can simply type here design.css. Okay, so now if I just do that, or if I just type here anything, it is not going to work. I have to write a separate piece of code to make it happen. So for that, I have to go back to app.js, and I have to type a single line here that is middleware, and we are going to discuss about the middlewares in future. Okay, so don't get confused with that right now. So I simply type here app.use, and I simply type here express.static, and I type here the directory name that is public. Okay, so what I have done here is I have tell the Express to include this public directory and use it whenever I call it. Okay, so now if I just go back and give the path here like style sheets / design.css, okay, and /. Okay, I save this and run this code. So I simply type here node app cd and then node app.js, and if I go to the Google Chrome browser and just refresh this page, nothing happens. If you go to the view page source and click on it, okay, so we have to remove this dot from here like this, save it and run this program once again, and refresh it again, and now you can see that our style sheet is working properly. Okay, and in the same way, if I want to include this JavaScript file, I can do that simply like I have done with this style sheet. So the main purpose of this video is to show you that we can also include our CSS JavaScript images in our application, but we have to follow the directory structure that is followed by the programmers or the developers of Node.js. Okay, I just repeated once again. First of all, we have the public folder in which you have different folders like images, JavaScript or style sheets that contain its own files. Okay, so then we have tell the app.js to use this public directory in this application. Okay, and one more thing before closing this video is that we are writing .egs every time here. Okay, so this is just one example. I have used just one file, but when we use our project, we have like 10-20 files of EGS, so it's not a good idea to always write .egs here. So we are also going to set it at the top. So I simply type here app.use. okay, so, and I simply type here view engine, that is EJS. Okay, save it, and now if I remove this EJS from here, save it and run this program once again. Okay, so we got some error here. If I go back and see that, okay, so we have to write here app.set. okay, I want to set this view engine to EJS. okay, so now if I save it and run this program once again like node app.js, and now if I go back to my Google Chrome browser and reload it, nothing happens. Okay, so in this way we have also set up our the view engine by default to EJS, so we don't have to write EJS every time when we create the EJS file or create a route or render the EJS file. Okay, so these two lines we have added in this video. Okay, so this line basically help us to tell Express that you have to use this public directory, and this line tells the Express to use this EJS as the view engine for this project. Okay, and one more thing I have to add here is I also want to set here app.set. I also have to set the views directory by default. So I type here views and I type here path.join directory name and then the views, which is the directory we have created before that. Okay, and by writing this line here, we have tell the Express to use this view directory for our EJS files. We have just used this path.join and directory name to tell the Express that go to this path and then use this view directory for the EJS files. Okay, I just conclude this video. So first of all, whenever we create our EJS files, we are always going to put them in this views directory. Okay? We have set it by default in this line. Okay, after that we have set the view engine to EJS by default so that we don't have to write EJS every time when we render our file. Okay, and after that we have set up this line that will tell the Express to use this public directory in which we have our CSS files, images and JavaScript files like that. Okay, so I hope that you understand, and this is the structure that we are going to follow throughout this course. This directory structure is really important to understand. I hope that you understand. So in our next video, we are going to discuss about the loops and conditional statements. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. So today in this video, we are going to learn that how we can use loops in our template engine or EJS files. Okay, so let's understand it with the help of a coding example. So first of all, I'm going to create a new folder in Express.js folder. I type here make dir and the name should be like EJS loops. Okay, so I simply move to this EJS loops and create a new file here. App.js. First of all, const express equals to require express and const app equals to express app dot listen to this port 3000. Okay, so now first of all I have to create a route here, so I simply type here app.get, and I'm going to create /questions route request response, and I have to render a template, so some type here render, and this should be like index, and that's it. Okay, also I have to set up here like these two lines. Okay, I hope that you understand. Every time we have to use these two lines in our projects. Okay, this time we don't have any CSS file or JavaScript file, that's why I'm not going to write here the public directory setup line. Okay, so now simply I have to use a loop in this index.egs file. So for that I want to create a array, so I simply type here let questions equals to, so I simply create a array of questions that have further objects which have title, what is node.js, and also I add a user here that asks this question, type here John, then also I type here votes, that may be 10. Okay, after that I simply copy this line, paste it here, and change votes to 8, and I type here Mike, and I simply type here express.js. Okay, I add one more here, and I simply type here what is MongoDB, and this user may be like Paul, and the rating may be votes may be 6. Okay, so now I have created this array of questions that have further 3 objects that contain some data. Okay, now let's pass this data to this EGS file, and using a for loop we are going to display that data in this file. Okay, so I simply type here questions. Okay, so remember that this questions is this one, and this is the variable that we are going to use in our EGS file. Okay, so simply I'm going to create a new directory here in EGS loops, that is views. Okay, so in this views directory I'm going to create a new file with the name index.egs. Okay, so in here first of all I type h1 statement here, I type here stack overflow questions, like that. Okay, so now I want to display all the questions using a loop. Now you can use for loop, you can use for each loop, that's totally depend upon you. Right now I'm going to use for each loop because for each loop is the best loop for iteration over an array. Okay, so I simply type here questions dot for each, and I type here an arrow function, type here question, and I simply type here that I want to display. Okay, so I want to first of all display the title, so I simply type here question and its title, then I want to display the user, and then the votes. Okay, so now first of all I have my h1 simple, and after that I have just displayed the data here like this. Okay, so now questions is this one, and then we have used these parentheses to access its attribute, that is title, user, and votes. And now we have to type our all EGS tags here. Okay, so we know that whenever we want to display the value, we always use the tags like this, that is this one percentage equals to, then close this tag like this. Okay, so we are going to put them for all the values and also like this. Okay, so we have set our values right here. Okay, so for this line, this is the JavaScript. This line is not going to return any value to us, so this is the plain JavaScript that is building the logic. So for these type of lines like this and like this, we have another tag. We just put this one and then percentage sign and then just close it. Okay, we don't have to put equal to sign here. We only put equal to sign whenever we want to display some value. Okay, when something is returning the value and we have to display that on our EJS file. Okay, so we don't want to display this logic on EJS file. Okay, so that's why we are going to put them in these two tags without equal to sign. Whenever we write any line of JavaScript, we always have to wrap it inside this tag. So copy it again, paste it here, and just close it like this. Okay, so there may be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. For each line we have to use these tags right here. I just repeat it. Whenever we want to display the values, we always use this equal to sign with them, with this tag. But whenever we are not going to display any value, that is simple logic like this one, then we only have to type this. We don't have to type the equals to sign here. I hope that you understand. Okay, let's save it and run this program and let's see what happens. So I simply type here node app.js. Okay, so we have to install the packages. So I simply type here npm init to initialize our application. Okay, then I simply type here npm I express and EJS and -- save. Save. Okay. Now I simply type here node app.js. Oops, we have some error here. So path is not defined. Okay, so we have to type here const path equals to required path like this, and save it and simply type here npm I path -- save. And after that I simply type here node app.js and server started at port 3000. Okay, so let's see it. First of all, I go to the localhost 3000 / questions like this, and you can see that we have our all questions right here. What is Node.js asked by John, and the votes are 10, then this question, and then this question. So we are displaying all these questions with the help of a loop in our EJS file like this. Okay, so whenever we go to the Stack Overflow official website, you can see that there are millions of questions there. Okay, so they use the loop to display all the questions. They retrieve the data from the database and display them in by using a loop on their homepage. Okay, so this is the basic logic to display all the posts, all the questions on the homepage. So I hope that you understand how we can use the loops in our EJS file. I just repeat this program once again. I have just created a routes with /questions. I have created an array of questions that have some objects like this one, and this one. Then I have passed these questions to this index.ejs file, and after that I have just used a for each loop to display all my data in this file. Okay, so one more thing, that whenever we want to display the value, we use these tags with equal to sign. But whenever we don't want to display the value, for example for this, we don't have to display any value here. This is our logic, so we don't have to type any equal to sign here. Okay, so if you type here equal to sign, then it is going to give you an error. Okay, so I hope that you understand. So that's it for this video. In our next video, we are going to discuss about the conditional statements and how we can use the conditional statements. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. In our previous video, we have discussed about that how we can use loops in EJS file. And now in this video, we are going to discuss about that how we can use the conditional statements like if and if else in our EJS files. Okay, so I'm going to use my previous example here. You can see that I have just printed all the questions on the Chrome browser, if I just run this program once again, you can see that we have all our questions on this page. Okay, now I want to display all the questions that are asked by John. Okay, so I simply go to the EGS file and I'm going to type a conditional statement in here. So in for loop, I simply type here, if question, I fetch the user, if I matches it to John, and I also convert it to the lowercase dot to lowercase equals to John, then I have to do this. Then I have to display data, otherwise I don't have to display any data. Control X here, Control V. Okay, so I just applied here if statement, if question user, this is going to fetch the user and convert it to the lowercase. If that is equal to John, then I want to display data, otherwise I don't want to display data. And then I'm simply going to again wrap our if statement with these tags. Okay, because these lines are not displaying any value, this is our just logic, that's why we are not going to use any equal to sign here, like this, and also for this. Okay, so let's save it everything and run this program once again. If I go back and refresh the page, and now you can see that only the questions that are asked by John will appear here. If I add one more question here by John, I just copy it and paste it here and type here something like 15 John, and then what is JavaScript, like this. Save it, run this program once again, go back, refresh, and then you can see the two questions that are asked by the John. Okay, so now let's use the else statement here. So I simply type here else, and I type here h1 tag here, and I simply going to type here asked by other users. Okay, and I put them right under that. Control C, Control V, and then I simply close the bracket and add the tags here like this. Okay, so let's save it and run this program once again. If I go to Chrome browser and refresh it, now you can see that these questions are asked by John, and asked by other users we have this MongoDB and this Express.js. Okay, so these are the questions that are asked by the other users, and these are asked by the John. So in this way we can use our conditional statements in EJS file. Okay, you can see that we have used the if else statement here. I hope that you understand. Anyhow, if you feel any problem in understanding anything about EJS, you can definitely ask my question. I am always here to help you. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this course. So today in this video we are going to discuss about the post request. Okay, so before getting into the coding part, let's see what is basically the post request. Okay, so the post is a request method supported by HTTP. We know that this is the request method by HTTP, as we have already used the get method, which is also supported by HTTP. Okay, and post request method requests that a web server accept data enclosed in a body of request message, most likely for storing it. Okay, so what does this mean? When we will write our code after some time, then I will show you what does this body and request mean. In our previous videos we have used the request.params, which is the parameters of the URL. Okay, so when we use our post request, we want to read some data, we use request.body. So that's why it is written that data is enclosed in a body of a request. Okay, so we also retrieve our data from this body of request, and most commonly the post request is used for storing data. Okay, and after that it is often used when uploading a file and when submitting a complete web form. Okay, so this is what we call the post request. Now let's write a code to have a better understanding that how basically the post request works. So first of all, let's create a new folder with the name post request. Okay, And after that, first of all, I'm going to create a new file in this folder, app.js. Okay, so let's type here const express equals to require. We are creating our app from scratch so that you have better understanding that how basically we write our code. So express and const app equals to the express. Okay, and after that we add app dot listen on port 3000 and callback simple console dot log and server started at port 3000. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to type here a route app.get. Now we are going to understand the post request by using the login form. Okay, so what we are going to do, we simply create a login form with that has a username field and a password field and a login button. When we click on that button, then we send a post request and match our username and password. Then if the username and password is correct, then we will redirect our application toward the dashboard. Okay, so this is a simple application. So simply I'm going to type here /login route. So this is the get route basically. Okay, and I type here request response. I'm going to rest.render the EJS file, that is login.ejs. I will remove EJS from here and add it at the top. Okay, so I simply type here app.set view engine to EJS. Okay, and also I set my view app.set and I type here views path.join. We have discussed about this in our previous videos. So directory name and views. Always we have to write these lines as it is. These are middlewares, and we are going to discuss about middlewares when we will create our project, when we'll use middlewares, when we will create our own middlewares. Okay, so don't get confused with these right now. I'm going to explain it in detail when we will create our project. Okay, and also I just type here const path equals to require the path. Okay, now let's create this login.ejs file and design it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to create a new folder with the name views, and in this folder I'm going to create a new file with the name login.ejs. Okay, so now I am going to use the bootstrap library here to design this screen. Okay, so let's quickly design it. First of all, the HTML tag, after that the head tag, and in here first of all I'm going to paste my bootstrap link. So I simply type here link and paste my link here. Okay, you can get it from internet. And after that I'm going to create the body tag. I hope that you know about all these things, HTML, basic HTML. Okay, and first of all I'm going to create a form here. So form and action will be /login. After that we have the method, which is the post. Okay, so what does this mean, action and method? So this is a form tag. We are going to submit a form. So this is the URL on which URL I have to send my post request. So method is post because we are going to set the post request. So that's why I type here post. And this is the URL where I want to send the post request. This is called the action. Okay, and after that I'm going to simply design my form. In here first of all I'm going to create a div and add a class of bootstrap, that is container. Okay, and give it width of 25%. Okay, and in here first of all I'm going to create a new row here, which is also class of bootstrap. So I simply type here class row, and to center my form I simply type here justify content center. Okay, so this is also bootstrap class, justify content center. And now I'm going to put my fields here. So before that, I add one more div here that has a bootstrap class, that is form group, and I give him it the column 12 and padding of 0. And in this I am going to create an input, type is equal to text, and name will be username. Make sure that you give this input a name, because we are going to get data from this form by using its name. Okay, so name is username, and I'm going to type here a class of bootstrap form control, and also I'm going to type here a placeholder and type here username. Okay, that's it. The first field is ready. Now if you don't know about the bootstrap, then I will highly recommend you to learn this CSS library. This is very easy to learn and give you many benefits. Okay, so now simply I'm going to copy this and paste it here, Control C, and paste it here, and just change it type to password, and the name also to password, and placeholder also to password. Okay, and now I have to place a button here. Okay, so I am simply going to type here button type equals to submit, and I'm going to give it a class of bootstrap class btn success to make this button green, and also I type here btn block to give it all the space, and column of 12. Okay, also type text here login. That's it. Our form is now ready and designed. And before that, I also add a h1 tag here, h1. I type here login simple, and give it a class of bootstrap, and type here text center, and margin top of 5 and margin bottom of 3. Okay, that's it. Our login.ejs is now ready. Now let's go back to our app.js file, and simply first of all I am going to save it and type here cd to the post request folder, and type here npm init to initialize our application, and then npm install express ejs path -- save. Okay, so all packages are installed successfully. Now I'm going to type here node app.js. So I simply go to my Chrome browser and simply type here localhost 3000/login and press enter, and you can see this beautiful form, but there is no any margin here. So I go back and see here. Okay, so we forgot to put a hyphen here, so this is form group like this. Okay, save it, and now if I just go back and reload it, okay, so this is our login form with two fields, username and password. Okay, so we have to type here username, and here we have to type the password, and when I click on the login, if the username and password is correct, then we are going to redirect to the /dashboard. Okay, so now let's get our post route. Go back, and I'm simply going to type here app.post, and I'm simply going to post to /login URL. Okay, and after that the callback request response. Okay, and in here first of all I have to get the username and password from those fields. Okay, so I simply type here let username equals to request dot body. So this is the body which I am talking about in this slide. Okay, so we are going to request from the body, which is the username. So this username is basically the name that we have right here. This one. Okay, so now let's do it for password. So password equals to request dot body dot password. Okay, so before moving on, I want to tell you that we also have to write a middleware for this body, because we have to parse the body. So for that we are going to use a package of npm that is called body parser. Okay, so I simply type here const body parser equals to require, which help us to parse the body and get the data from that. So I'll simply type here body parser. Okay, and let's install it first. Simply control C, npm I body dash parser dash save, and it start installing. Okay, so now let's write the middleware for the body parser. So I simply type here app.use. We want to use the body parser, so I simply type here body parser dot URL encoded, and that pass an object here that says extended equals to true. Okay, now basically this line help us to parse our application. Okay, so especially forms. So with this line we can actually parse our form and get the data from that. Okay, so always we have to write this line as this is. You don't need to get confused with this line right now. Okay, so now let's move on and type here a simple if statement, because right now we don't learn about database, so that's why we are going to give it hard-coded value. Okay, but when we will move on and use our database, definitely we are going to authenticate the user from our database. So right now I simply type here if username equals to John and password equals to pass, then we are going to simply redirect. I'm going to use the redirect method that basically redirect to a URL. Okay, so I simply type here res.redirect to /dashboard. Okay, this is not the dashboard.ejs, this is the URL that is /dashboard. Okay, this is no rendered function, this is a redirect function that redirect to this URL. Okay, so that's it. I think so it will work right now. And okay, we forgot to create the dashboard route, so I simply type here app.get /dashboard and request response, and I simply type here res.render the dashboard.ejs. So dashboard, and let's create this view right now. So new file and dashboard.ejs. Okay, and here I'm simply going to type a single h1 statement that says welcome to dashboard. Okay, that's it. And now I think this program is going to work fine for us, so let's save it and give it a shot. So simply type here node app.js. Okay, so I go back and reload this form. I simply type here John and password P8SS. Okay, and click on login from here like this, and that's it. Welcome to the dashboard. You can see the URL here. We are redirected to /dashboard. Okay, so in this way we can send the post request using this form. So this is a very simple example. When we will move towards our projects, we are definitely going to store our old data in the database, and then we'll authenticate our user from the database using these post requests. Okay, so I hope that you understand what we have done in this video. I just move back and tell you about the post request. So this is the post request. It is just like this route, but we have just used this post here. Okay, so simply we have used the app.post to this URL, which is /login, and then pass a callback here. And this callback, first of all, we fetch our username and password by using request.body.username and password, and then we simply compare that and redirect to /dashboard. Okay, so I hope that you understand. Anyhow, if you feel any problem understanding anything about post request, definitely you can ask me a question. I am always here to help you. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video.